Hello, everyone. It's Phil Jacobus. It is September 10th. I'm at my office in New York City. Today, I'm going to share a pre-recorded interview with Sean Callahan, who is a real humanitarian. He's also a business person, but we'll talk about his business activities and his humanitarian activities in Africa and other places, Central America. But before I share the interview with Mr. Callahan, let's take a look at some of the stories that are in healthcare business news today, if you were looking at our news. One news I'd like to share with you, one story here, you see that Siemens and CEA Leti, which is a scientific facility in France, have developed a new type of photon counting detector. This is a great story. You know, Siemens is always cutting edge on the CT scanner, as others manufacturers are, forgive me, but and this will allow for even better spatial resolution. You know, it's hard to believe that we could have a better image, but this will help us to do so. So another interesting story is that the FDA has given the nod to KA Imaging's dual energy detector. You know, earlier this year, I interviewed Amal Karnak, and this is very interesting technology. If you view this story, you'll see a link to that interview. Very interesting. Hello, and today I have the good fortune of being joined by Sean Callahan, who is the Sales and Marketing Director of iMedical Equipment Sales and Service. Sean, thanks very much for joining us.
Phil, thank you very much for your time today.
You know, Sean has always impressed me as being a very knowledgeable and creative guy, and we'll get into that in a minute, but his company, from 5,000 feet in the air, Sean, tell me just a little bit in a few sentences about iMedical Equipment Sales and Service.
Okay, so iMedical Equipment and Service primarily sells refurbished medical equipment. We get it from a host of different sources, hospital chains and places we work with. We refurbish the equipment, we resell it. We're based out of San Diego, California. We're based out of Richmond, Virginia. We do have a Richmond, Virginia Beach, and we do have a location in Senegal, Africa. We do sell some stuff new, but primarily used and refurbished equipment that we sell that we get from various sources here in the States.
Right. Now, Senegal, Africa has to be a challenging place to do business, doesn't it?
Yes, international is definitely a challenge.
But how we got to visit with each other is because of my interest in charity and our mutual interest in charity. So tell me about some of the charitable projects that you've been involved with, your company.
Well, we're really lucky because we have been able to work on quite a few projects. The majority of the projects right now that we've been working on over the last year or two have been based out of Africa. We do a lot of stuff also out of Latin America, but we basically get a lot of these nonprofits that are based and somewhat set up out of the United States. And more often than not, they're people that are originally from Africa that have come over here, have experienced some really, tough things growing up in Africa and want to go back and make it better. And so they take on these projects to build hospitals, community centers, clinics, and, primarily they're based on, providing a high level of care to areas that really don't have it, scattered throughout all over Africa, and also Mexico and Latin America. I mean, we've done some projects elsewhere, but that's where the majority of it seems to go.
Now, if we assume that you sold a refurbished piece of medical equipment or even a new piece of medical equipment, even the newest piece of medical equipment at some point is going to need service and need to be repaired. How do you address that problem?
That's a great question. So the one thing that we're really lucky is we do have a lot of people that are experienced and actually from Africa, and some of them have biomed experience. So what we can do through modern technology is a group of different things. The number one thing we can do is FaceTime. So when it comes time to anything needing to be serviced or having any types of issues, we can basically look directly at the equipment, get an error code, find out exactly what's wrong with it, and then be able to do some of that through the phone, through like FaceTime or even like with a Zoom meeting type thing. Most of the equipment that we're selling, it's still pretty easy to get parts for. Even if it's what they might say end of life, there's still a lot of parts and things that are available for a lot of that equipment. And in all honesty, the majority of the equipment that we sell, even though it's older equipment, which would sometimes be classified as say tier 3, it still has a lot of life in it. It's solid state equipment. It's made to last. And you know, for the amount of stuff that we sell and the amount of stuff we have problems with, it's very, very minimal and it's easy to fix.
Now, do you send parts from the United States, or do they source parts locally in?
No, we'll usually send parts from the United States. In some cases, like if they say, look, we need 100 hospital beds, we're going to send them 105. We're going to immediately send extra beds and extra equipment over there so that if there is an issue, they've already got parts and things available. If they're buying monitors or they're buying different types of equipment, we're going to keep them all set up on GE. So if they're getting all stuff that's going to be going in that's electronic stuff, we'll keep them on one brand, and we might throw in a couple extra monitors, and or we'll already kind of know what parts that these things are going to need. We sort of have a very good biomed staff. Most of those guys are based out of Virginia Beach, but we already know what the things are to look for and what they're going to need. So we sort of pre-package that in with the orders to make sure that they've got some of that stuff on site.
I see. Uh, are there engineers in Africa?
There is. There's actually a lot. You'd be very surprised, but there's a lot of trained biomed engineers that are in Africa now. I connect a lot with those people through LinkedIn. I've had, like sometimes at the hospitals, they'll come to me, some of the nonprofits and places they work with, they'll say, hey, we need help with imaging equipment. And I'll run something out and say, hey, anybody that's in these areas that has this skill, we've got hospital or places looking. And I get a lot of response back.
I see.
Um,
What about corruption or graft when you're importing? Does that still exist? I know that you aren't involved in this personally, and even if you are, you won't say so. But is that a challenge in Africa or South America?
Well, in all honesty, the places where this stuff is going, the people bringing it in there already kind of know the rules of the game. So generally speaking, their money is made a lot of times through tariffs that they're charging. So they'll already know, hey, if we're bringing this in, there's going to be X amount of tariffs that are going to be there. A lot of the people that we work with are experienced in bringing stuff into Africa, so they already kind of know what to expect. And in some cases, what we have done and what we've worked with some of them is to try to bring extra equipment in that they can donate to government hospitals or donate to other places there so that they can, sort of help get their foot in the door and develop relationships within government entities that might be in the countries they're going into.
I see. So let's talk a little bit more about your charity work. How did you get involved in that? What was your first project?
Well, the charity work for us has always kind of come to us. The one thing that was unique with our business is that we've got a large showroom area. We've got 6,000 square feet, and here in Richmond, where I'm at, we've got about 45,000 square feet of stuff that's in here. But we always try to get people to come visit the location, and then we develop sort of a personal relationship with them. And as an example, the latest one that comes to mind is Sierra Leone. But one thing that I've started doing is asking these people, why are you doing this? What is it that's inspiring you to want to do this, and try to get their story? And the one thing that you'll find with all the people that we deal with, or at least 80 or 90% of them, is that they grew up in these places and saw really, really horrific situations where friends, family, or people they know, experience things on a medical scale that they just didn't have good access to medical care. And these people took it upon themselves to try to make a change in that. So we try to partner up with them, and we try to donate as much stuff as we can based on what we've got and what they need. A lot of what you're going to see in Africa is going to have to do with infant mortality rates. So for one place that we just got done working with, we donated birthing beds. We donated stretchers that are specifically made for birthing, fetal monitors, infant warmers. And in some cases, what we do is we invite them to come in and say, hey, what here do you think you could use? And things like surgical instruments and disposables, we just pretty much let them go at it and pick out what they want and donate a lot of that and get it into the containers when they're shipping them out.
It's got to be a challenge to decide as a small business that in a tough economy to decide when you sell something and when you donate something that could otherwise be sold.
Well, it's a mix, I mean, a lot of times, even, if we can get our hard costs covered, that helps us a lot as well. So there's a certain amount of items, obviously, to stay in business that you do have to sell. But you can look a lot at what your costs are, what the needs are of what they actually, can use. And you can still find a way that you can donate quite a bit of stuff and everybody finds a good space where they can make things happen.
Now, refresh my memory. Medical equipment sales and service is a new company that's a combination of three other companies. Just very briefly, refresh my memory. What are the three companies?
So the three companies were Green River Medical, which was based here out of Richmond. Green River Medical for a long time, 10 plus years, has really done a great job in acquiring medical equipment. They've got a lot of contracts where they're contractually set up to pick up medical equipment. Hospital Warehouse LLC, which is based out of Virginia Beach. Some super talented biomedical people down there. They've got a long track history of doing hospital service contracts, medical equipment repair, depot repair, and then you had Hospital Direct Medical, which primarily was buying a lot of equipment from those companies, but really probably more focused on a sales and marketing specialty. So taking all three of those companies and putting them together was iMedical. And the goal really was to be an all-encompassing company where you could sell biomedical equipment that was patient ready. And what we really wanted to do was kind of create an experience where people could come in, see a showroom. We're trying to push away from just being an online sales thing, but really say, hey, come visit us, meet us, see everything on display. So in our showroom here where I'm at, we've got a full operating room, full hospital patient room, ENT room, urgent care, exam room, imaging area. We've got it all set up. And when people come in, they can basically come in, walk out, they can test 10 different monitors, say, I like that one the best, this one's best price.
This is in Virginia Beach or in Richmond?
This is in Virginia. Virginia Beach primarily does a lot of the recertification and all the biomed services.
So where are these rooms set up?
The rooms are set up in Richmond and San Diego.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you are an interesting guy and your company is interesting, and most importantly, you're doing good work. So on behalf of the people, thank you very much for that.
Phil, thank you very much for your time.
It's a real pleasure to visit with you, Sean. You're a quality guy.
Yes, sir. Hey, thank you, Phil. I appreciate that. You as well.